Well, now here are some things that I think it's huge. Is as it relates to underperforming talent, do you embrace the idea of always hiring new people so that way you're always looking for new people so that way you can replace people if they're not performing? I mean, do you embrace the idea that you should always be interviewing and recruiting top talent so you're never locked? Because I think a lot of people can't fire someone because they don't have any new blood coming into the
We do
organization.
that well at Disney because we get somebody. We stay in touch with a lot of people that we know we're going to hire them.
Yeah.
Just when it'll happen. So we have a good system for letting them know and we often tell them, when we have the job open, are you ready to resign from your job and come to Disney? They say, yes, I'll just wait out here. They might wait a year. They might
Right.
wait 6 months. We've gone back and we keep that relationship open so they know that we're going to bring them. It's
So
just
you're
a matter of-
always, because like I know in the world of the DJ business, we used to send 40 disc jockeys out to entertain at weddings every weekend. And I remember I used to be going, oh man, I want to fire this guy. Oh man. But until I started my active recruiting process, I could never do it because I didn't have anybody to replace him with.
Which was the right thing to do.
And then eventually, though, we got to a point where we had a group interview every week. We had 10 new candidates coming in, and I could go, well, this guy's clearly better than this guy, and I can just make that switch. And so I feel like if you're going to be intense about enforcing your rules and firing when people aren't willing to do their job, you also have to be just as intense about hiring, do you not?
Absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the things we do best is when we spot a good person, we make sure they know that eventually we're going to hire you. But we got to get the opening first, or we've got to move this other person out because it's going to take some time. Legally, we're going to have to probably take us 90 days to get them documented and moved on out so we don't get sued. And
I remember a few years ago, this is probably, 7, 8 years ago, I was at Walmart, and it was during Thanksgiving, and I ran into one of my former employees' wives. And we had to fire the guy for just breaking all sorts of rules. And I don't know. I think sometimes as an employer, for me, and I didn't do the best at it, I've gotten better over time, still always trying to improve. But when somebody would lie to me about their work schedule, lie to me about the work they'd done, I kind of viewed it as a form of stealing. Because I'm like, look, I'm paying you for work you're not doing. And so rather than having empathy, I became like oh,
you are gonna get fired and I'm gonna enjoy it.
And I would and so anyway, I let this guy go in a very direct way. I just said, hey, such and such, you are terminated for absolutely lying on a consistent basis. And I was so, just so frustrated with the guy. I didn't curse at him or anything, but I was just very firm. Well, I ran into his wife at Walmart, and she's wanting to know how come I'd fire her husband in the holidays and this whole drama. And I just didn't sit well with me. I almost started to feel guilty. But then I got in my car and I was thinking, he deserved to be fired. I mean, he chose. But if I think a lot of entrepreneurs really struggle with just the emotional idea of firing somebody, how did you emotionally, what kind of thought process do you want me to put in my mind? Or how can I emotionally deal with the idea of firing someone? Is it they're choosing to be fired, or how do you deal with that?
well, first of all, he didn't tell her the truth.
No, he didn't.
So she had a different perspective of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were being unreasonable.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you think about, to me, discipline and firing is, you got to think about you are in a responsible position. And that's a responsibility you have, is to have the right people in the positions, and people who don't perform, it's part of your responsibility. It's kind of like your kid. You're responsible for your children. You had them. You hired this person, you're responsible. If they're not performing, you can't fire your kids, but that's one of the major responsibilities, having the right people in your organization. And to let that go, it just eats away at your whole brand. It eats away at your profit. It eats away at other employees, and it eats away at your reputation because everybody else knows you're not dealing with it.
Is it possible to be a successful manager and not fire?
No, absolutely not. I mean, and by the way, great people all of a sudden become poor performers, and you don't even know why. Maybe you can't figure it out. Maybe it's a health issue. Maybe their wife's leaving. Maybe they're suffering from depression. Maybe you don't know why, but you've got to stay focused on one thing. And I think people, if they'll get over all this other stuff, clear all that out, focus on performance. That's all you got to focus on. They're either performing or they're not.
A or B.
If they're not, they need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you can give them. It's up to you.
You focus on
you
performance.
can give many chances as you want.
It's not about being a good person or a bad person. It's about performance. Bottom line.
Of course.
Okay.